All right, let's take a look at some of the dailies here this morning. We'll start with the Guardian newspaper. Households groan over food prices as inflation defies intervention. This is the big lead on the front page of the Guardian newspaper here today. And, well, yes, it's on an economic note. And the Vanguard equally toes the same line about focusing on the economy. More pressures on pockets as food inflation rises to 40%. Now, that is something that will definitely be out there. Well, look at the writers. High electricity tariff to drive further rise, ascribed to analysts. It's bad for business, Nasima. Small businesses to lose capital base, Asbon. Well, this is something that, well, definitely the handlers of the economy have got to find a way. Look at Business Day. Stronger Naira fails to put food on tables, as though they're all unanimous on this in terms of the impact of the economy here this morning. They look at some of the dailies. And then if you go ahead and take a look at the Nigerian News Direct, Nigerians' economy will be liberated, ascribed to Tinubu. Says, no more payment of ransom to kidnappers. As economic policies beginning to yield positive results, we must root out the scourge of kidnapping. So all of that focusing on the economy, with the president giving that line there. But Daily Independent comes with a different twist. Defend Tinubu or quit. Matawale tells northern appointees. So I guess it's reading the riot act right there for all of them who perhaps might be there doing a thing or two. So, well, that may be his perspective, but that's not all there is to that particular angle. Blueprints also has a perspective on that. Matawale to northern appointees, defend Tinubu administration against vicious attacks or quit. So that appears to be point blank for all of them there. So I guess in the days ahead, we'll see what transpires or how that eventually plays out. Have a look at this Nigeria. Drama over Ganduje as Kano APC war suspends him. SWC nullifies action. And then ex-Kano governor, wife, others to appear in court tomorrow over bribery allegation. So I guess, okay. Well, yes, New Telegraph also on that same trajectory. Ganduje's purported suspension, speaking politically. We were impersonated. 27 ward chairs say as Kano APC counters, sacks them all. So what does this do to the entire scenario now? Well, just hold on a bit. Have a look at leadership. Plot to remove Ganduje Damagum thickens. North Central intensifies lobby for chairman position in APC PDP. And then the other one said drama in Kano over Ganduje suspension. Wike camp splits ahead of PDP neck. State chairman vow to resist any move outside party's constitution. So you also see that one as it just keeps going over and over. Tribune here, APC, controversy in Kano over Ganduje's suspension. Ward Exco, state chapter, encounter moves as ward leaders disown suspension. So that you can see right there on the front page. Daily Trust, ex-governor, 21 other senators sponsor no bill in 10 months. They should wake up. Subscribe to analysts. So I know the big question is, so what are they doing there? They're just receiving the entitlements and doing nothing about it? Your guess may be as good as maybe anybody else's in this case. The Daily Times, FG now paying more money on petrol subsidy than before. And guess from who? El Rufai. Asks president to drop appointees who fail to deliver. So is this the first of many responses we're going to see here? How FG rescued over 1,000 abductees without ransom. This is ascribed to the NSA. That is his perspective on that subject matter concerning that one right there on the front page. So we're seeing quite a number of stories highlighting all of this, but have a look at New Telegraph. Ganduje's purported suspension. We were impersonated. 27 ward chairs say as Kano APC counters, sacks them all. And then beneath this one here, I guess it might make interesting reading. Shetima, Nyako, Gaidam thwarted Chibok girls rescue, Clark alleges. So you might wonder which. Okay, well, look at the writers, it might just shed some light for you. Says mass abduction, politically motivated. Who would have thought they played politics with lives? Over 1,700 children abducted in 10 years. Amnesty International report records 17 school mass abductions in 6 years. Say 20 released Chibok girls forced to marry ex-Boko Haram fighters. So that is a New Telegraph this morning. Just beside that, Nigeria plunged into darkness as national grid collapses again. So quite a handful with some of the dailies here this morning. So have your pick. What is it that you've had up to here? We want to hear from you about all of that, but I know that many will be or are affected, and of course will be tomorrow with the power situation. I know the ministers, I think the head of service will have some sort of conversation with them about ministerial performance. Yes, they launched a platform to assess it, but for the Minister of Power, I think you know how you'll be assessed already. Because no matter what you do, if people do not have power supply, you can almost guess what their feedback of that ministry is already or will be when the time comes. So the front page of Guardian, like several other papers, where you see National Grid suffers third collapse, worsens 20 hours power targets. And then you see another paper, which is probably Vanguard, talking about it collapsing for the 4th time. And so it adds to the groans you see on the front page there over food prices as inflation defies intervention. So perhaps defies being the oppressive word. You need to find out what kind of interventions are there in the first place. What is the current circumstance? No, let's have that Guardian again. And so if you look at that power sector area where it collapses, worsening 20 hours power target. So all of this question about, is it band A, B, C, D, or E, or what relevance is it? Because if they hike this tariff and you can't provide service, what excuse will they give to those who have vended in that same hiked tariff and then not commensurate with supply? And look at that, they say what, at about midnight, it collapsed. And so we're just barely scratching the surface now in terms of what is available. I think about 64 megawatts from 2,000 plus. So what can that even do to anything?
Well, Chumling, you know, just spare thoughts for those on the other bands, because I tell you that as soon as electricity is provided, as soon as electricity is restored to the grid, priority will certainly be those on band A, who constitute 15% of those, of total electricity users in the country. So you can imagine what's going to happen. Yeah, what's going to happen to band B, band C, band D.
No, they do get some, but look, it's not even as if the so-called band A are getting any better.
Yeah, no, it's totally, it's really, really, really disheartening. As you said, you know, the way the power minister and ministry will be assessed will be very straightforward. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. You know, how much electricity can Nigerians say they've experienced or felt in their lives? But I want to focus on the Vanguard this morning. And in some ways, I dare say that this cost of living crisis, it's a good thing that is happening, because it would seem that the media is beginning to learn to focus that at the end of the day, what really matters. I mean, after all of this politics has been played, what really matters is the welfare of citizens. And it's been so good to see that for the past weeks, I dare say months, there's been a huge focus on this cost of living crisis. Take a look at the front page of the Vanguard now, and they're also focusing on inflation. More pressures on pockets as food inflation rises to 40%. As you highlighted, it's very closely related to The Guardian, which is also closely related to two other stories. Federal government still subsidizing petrol in trillions of naira, and why electricity power system collapsed 4th time in 2024. Now, when you have all of these, shall I say, failures or problems, it boils down to one thing: the pockets of Nigerian consumers. Because right now, people are buying petrol at what price? It depends on where you live. 680 naira, in some cases, 620 naira. Depends if you're able to queue at an NNPC filling station. In some places, NNPC filling stations are not selling. And I'll tell you why. There is no electricity for them to sell. They say they cannot use diesel that is being sold at 1,100 and something.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Yeah, they sell the diesel to us, but they cannot
use that diesel to sell petrol.
You see life?
That's, it's ridiculous. And at the end of the day, imagine passing by an NNPC station.
Boy.
They're not selling. Who is suffering the inconvenience of driving further to look for another station to buy from? Right now, there is scarcity in the Federal Capital Territory. So you can just imagine all of these problems making life a little more difficult for the average Nigerian citizen. I'm not here to sing tales of woes. I'm here to, paint the picture as it really is and why it is that government efforts need to be more coordinated. This morning, the fact that a lot of the papers are harping on the fact that inflation is still defying interventions, is still defying a stronger naira. I think that there needs to be like an emergency economic meeting to ask what exactly is the problem. Why is it that as our naira is gaining, people are not feeling the effects in their pockets? Because ideally, a stronger naira should mean that you can buy more with what it is that you earn, especially if you're earning in naira. But that is not the situation. So big questions need to be asked. Even though I can already guess an answer, they will tell you that, the inflation figures are not for now. It is maybe in the next quarter or the next month that you might be able to see the effect. These are
does that mean am I not going to the market to buy at increased rate?
These are
right
figures
now?
For things that have already been measured before the naira began to gain.
So we didn't suffer before, and we're not still experiencing
as I said,
it now.
I'm hazarding an answer. I can tell you.
It's very hazardous out there right now.
I've been on this job long enough to tell you the kind of answers that we can expect. But it certainly says that the welfare of the average Nigerian needs to be paramount on the minds of our leaders, be they in the federal government, be they at the state level, and where it exists, be they at the local level.
So the moral of the story is this. When you go out there to vote, if you like, vote them because they come from your local government area. You go and eat that potential. It's because everybody will go to the same market to face it. So if you don't put people who are capable, if you don't look at the track record and say, look, who can deliver us from this quagmire that we're in? If that is not your chief consideration, I wish you all the best. All right, we're back in just a moment. Stay on with us.